Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode number 6. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Hello and welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard. So I've got a question for you. Do you ever find yourself wondering how you got where you are or how time is flying by? I am recording this episode today and we are almost at the end of the first quarter of 2017. And I'm like, how is that happening? Every year it seems as though time just flies by. It goes faster and faster. And if we're not careful, the months and the years will just pass us by. And without us ever even thinking about what we want or where we're going, we just end up wherever we find ourselves. So in the midst of all of the hustle and bustle of daily life, how do we take time to step back and reevaluate where we are and where we're going? How do we hit that reset button? How do we make sure that we are spending our days well, our months well, our years well, so that we are confident that we are exactly where we're supposed to be? If you listened to episode number 1, you know that I had a bit of a breakdown in 2010. And at that time, I started exploring all kinds of new tools and techniques and really just exploring, what was my purpose. And through that, I learned about retreats. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I have found that that is the number one way to hit that reset button, to make sure that 1, you are taking care of yourself, but 2, that you are on the right path, that you are taking that time to evaluate where you are. And this is completely different than doing a review at the end of the year and creating your business plan, because oftentimes that is related to your career only, or it's just for purposes of your superiors. I'm talking about a holistic view, a holistic inventory where you are truly taking stock of your life and your career and how all of it fits together to make sure that you are on the right path and satisfied and fulfilled in every area of your life. Now, let me be clear. I am not talking about law firm retreats or corporate retreats. I really don't know who started using that term to describe off-site corporate events, but it's really a bad description. According to Merriam-Webster, the definition of retreat is an act or process of withdrawing, especially from something that is difficult, dangerous, or disagreeable. It also means a place of safety or privacy, or a period of group withdrawal for prayer, meditation, study, or instruction. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not think that a law firm or corporate retreat falls within any of those definitions. So to the extent that you have experienced one of those before, but you've not experienced a retreat where you get away by yourself to do some reflecting, planning, and gaining insight, just know that they are two totally separate things. So the first retreat that I attended was in Arizona, and it was an instructional retreat. So I was there for a very specific reason, to learn about an issue that I was going through and really being in a supportive environment to work through those issues. Now, they were personal issues, but they were impacting the way that I was showing up professionally as well. Now, again, if you listen to episode 1, you know that that didn't really impact the way that anyone saw it from the outside, but it certainly was impacting the way that I was viewing my career. After that, I started to attend some meditation retreats. And I have a friend, a former colleague, she used to call it my mediation retreats because she couldn't handle the meditation. And she might be listening, you know who you are. But I would go to these meditation retreats as an attorney. And meditation isn't super popular now with attorneys, but it does seem to be something that is discussed a lot. I was attending these back when they weren't really popular, but I got so much out of them. And I've attended some other instructional retreats. And then fast forward with my business, I now lead retreats as well. So I've been on the attending side and the leading side. And I can tell you from attending retreats, and I still attend at least one retreat every single year because they're that life-changing. They're that important to hitting that reset button. I can tell you that once you start doing them, you'll never go back to not doing them because they are that transformational and that important. So why retreat? I want to break this down a little bit and share some of my experiences as well as experiences from other CEOs and leaders that also use retreats as their secret weapon to having amazing success, but maintaining their personal well-being. And the first reason is to reset, to unplug. So you may have heard the famous Anne Lamott quote that almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. We often get so stuck in our heads that we don't even realize we're stuck in our heads. There is something about withdrawing, about unplugging that truly does help you reset. And it really is like your phone. Occasionally, your iPhone, your Android, whatever you're using, it starts to get wonky and you're like, what is going on? And then you remember, oh, I should probably reboot it. Let me turn the power off and reboot. And then everything seems to be working well again. And that's the concept. You have to get away to reset, to reboot in order to be fresh, in order to get rid of those kinks. And this is a bit different than just taking a vacation. Now, there are many ways to indeed reset and unplug, but withdrawing from your day-to-day life is the important piece. Now, that can happen in a vacation, but a lot of times when we do go on vacation, we're still checking our phones, our emails, and we're often with our family or our friends. So the drama of our daily life is still there, even if it's in a more exotic location or you're doing something that's more fun like skiing in the winter. It's really about getting quiet, about withdrawing from your daily life in order to reset. So the second reason why you should start considering retreats is it helps you avoid what Michael Hyatt calls drifting. So drifting is this concept that, like you get in a canoe or a boat in a river and you know where you're going, but then the day-to-day takes over, overwhelm takes over, and suddenly you're no longer steering the ship. You're just drifting. And so you literally might end up somewhere you never intended to be, or maybe you crash on some rocks on the shore, but you've basically stopped being the captain of the ship. And this happens so often for so many lawyers and other executives that work really crazy, demanding hours and have things that seem so important on our plates that even though we think that we put family first, in reality, our career ends up coming first and we put our family on the back burner. That's just one example. And so that's when you have a breakdown like I had, where you have a spouse that's unhappy or leaves, or you find that you're unhappy and burned out and depressed and you don't really know why. Or there's some other type of personal crisis that causes you to take stock of your life. And for Michael Hyatt, it was he ended up in the hospital twice thinking he was having a heart attack. It was actually a panic attack, but his doctor said, if you don't learn to take a step back, you are going to end up in here with a heart attack. And so a lot of times lawyers and executives end up with coaching or meditation because they have been so overworked and so overwhelmed that they are just drifting. They are just going with the flow, and they suddenly are forced to face these issues in their lives. And so Michael actually suggests that the best way to avoid drifting is to, at least once a year, take stock of everything in your life, career, personal, and make sure that you are actually focusing on and spending time on what you claim is most important to you. And a retreat, whether it is prayer, meditation, or instructional, that's going to happen. You are naturally going to take stock of where you are. And that's actually number 3 for me. Number 3 is taking an honest inventory of your life. And every retreat, whether it is set out in a format where you are following some type of procedure to take the inventory, or if it's just informal, when you withdraw, this just happens. Now you might think, well, of course I know where I am. Everybody knows, where they are. But sometimes you don't. You are so busy with the day-to-day that you actually have no idea where you are in relation to what you want. And that's number 4, gaining clarity as to what it is that you want, because maybe that's changed. Things may have changed in your life where the vision that you once had for yourself is no longer true for you. And so if you know where you are, but you don't know where you're going, well, again, you're going to start drifting and you're going to end up someplace that you probably don't want to be. And for many of you, you might already be there and you're stuck and you're frustrated, but you have no idea what it is that you really want. A retreat will help you gain that clarity. Number 5, a retreat will help you move through your blocks. Because when you withdraw and when you're taking this inventory, you start to see the issues, the real issues. You start to see where your blocks are. And when you're faced with them and you're on a retreat in a safe place where it's private, and there's generally some type of instructor there to help you, you can move through it so that when you go back home, you're not still dealing with it, or you at least have the tools that you need to make it better and to keep practicing and to better yourself so that you aren't just avoiding. I mentioned earlier that a retreat is different than a vacation. I have another friend, I'm calling out my friends, but none of them by name. I was sharing with her, I guess it was last year maybe? It was in December. I shared that I was going on this retreat to move through a block. I had already identified that I had this block, and I was really struggling with moving through it on my own. And so I knew that an intensive retreat would help me. And she was like, how much is this going to cost? And I told her, between the fees and the hotel and the flights, it was going to be about $5,000. And she was just like, why don't you go to an amazing beach or go have a vacation? That will make you feel better. And I was like, no, that is a Band-Aid. Yes, I will feel better in that moment, although the issue's probably still going to be in the back of my head. And when I get home, the issue's still going to be there. There is always benefit to vacations, but they are very different than retreats. So anyway, she was giving me a hard time for always working on my stuff. But I think as a personal and professional development coach, you would want me to be doing that. You would want me to lead by example. And if you're listening, again, you know who you are. I think a retreat would help you to move through some blocks as well. All right. So number 6, when you withdraw, when you retreat, you have creative breakthroughs. So I shared in episode number 2 that one of the limiting beliefs that holds a lot of attorneys back is this concept of always thinking logically and never thinking creatively. Well, it's sometimes hard to, go from being in your left brain to your right brain when you are working on matters where you need to be logical, you need to be critical. If you go on a retreat, because you aren't having to think logically, you're not having to be skeptical or critical or judgmental, you can just be open to the experience. It actually creates space for you to have some aha moments, to have some really creative thoughts and breakthroughs. I have yet to go on a retreat, even if it's for personal reasons or it's for meditation. I've yet to go on a retreat where I didn't have an amazing creative breakthrough related to my business. So that is a perk. And then number 7 is it allows you to get excited about your future. So as you're hearing me talk about, avoiding drifting, taking stock of where you are, working through your blocks, that might seem a little heavy. But the truth is you move through that piece and it's never as difficult as it sounds. As lawyers, we don't like to be emotional or have feelings. But if you do that stuff, at the end of that journey, which doesn't have to take long and it's not painful, you get really excited about your future because you're rejuvenated, you are recentered, you have that clear vision for where you're going, and you are pumped up so that when you get back home, you are ready to go. You are feeling refreshed. You have like this new zest for life and your career, and it really helps you set the tone for the next 12 months. And then last, you meet some really cool people. You can do individual retreats where you're not really talking to others, but most retreats, you get an opportunity to meet others. And because you are working through your life plan, and that sometimes, involves sensitive topics, you bond so quickly and you make great friendships. And a lot of times those last long after the retreat. So you may not experience that, but if you want to, I guarantee you will meet some really amazing people. So how do you go about finding a retreat that is going to work for you? Well, there are all kinds of retreats out there that will likely be beneficial. But there are a few ways that you can get started if you're not familiar with this concept of retreats or you've not gone on them before. The first is to start with a hobby or a passion and then go from there. So for example, if you practice yoga, there are yoga retreats all over the world. If you meditate, there are meditation retreats all over the world. Same with mindfulness. Now, those you might be thinking, well, that makes sense, but I don't do yoga. I don't meditate. I don't really practice mindfulness. Well, don't worry. There are still plenty of others out there. There are retreats that are designed and focused on cycling, creative writing, cooking, dancing. So whatever it is that you really enjoy, whether it's in the current or it's something that you enjoyed in the past and you would like to try out again, you can find a retreat that has a component of that focus, of that passion, but it's still the same concept of you are withdrawing in order to spend time with yourself and to work through these issues, to take stock, to really get clear on where you are. So you can just start with a hobby or passion and then ask, right? So if you have friends that also do that, you can ask if they're aware of any retreats. If you have an instructor in any of those areas, you can ask the instructor if they're aware of any retreats. And then you can always Google, just Google it. So, you would put in cycling retreat or creative writing retreat. Now, once you find an option, whether it's been referred to you or you just stumbled across it in a Google search, make sure that it's not just group activities where you're not actually spending time with yourself or reflecting, because a lot of people, again, this goes back to law firms and corporate retreats, a lot of people use the word retreat but it's not truly a retreat. It could just be a group tour, a group vacation, and that is not the same thing. It might be fun. You might want to go check it out, but just know that that's not a retreat. So you just want to look at the sales information. You want to look at the website to really make sure that you're getting that true retreat environment. And so I also thought I would just go through a quick list of some places, some centers that I would recommend that you look into if you are interested in attending a retreat. So one is Omega in New York. Another is Kripalu, Kripalu in Massachusetts. Spirit Rock in California. Calavi, also in California. And to some extent, Canyon Ranch. You can find Canyon Ranch in both Massachusetts and in Arizona. Those are retreat centers in a way. So they are constantly having either instructors from their organizations, or they're bringing in specialists and guest teachers to come in and lead retreats. Or often you can design your own. You don't actually have to attend a group retreat. Although I will say, if you've never done it before, I highly recommend the group retreat first, because you're going to have no idea what you're doing if you're just trying to do it on your own. And if you are up for wellness and fitness, I would also like to give a shout out to Fit and Fly Girl. Okay, so fitandflygirl.com, you can check out what they do. Those are exclusive for women. They're in amazing cities, and that is actually run by a female attorney. So definitely check her out. And then last but not least, a bit of a shameful plug. I would love if you would join me for the retreat that I lead at Miraval in Tucson, Arizona, called Life and Law in Balance. I first learned of Miraval from Janet Miller, the CEO of a real estate brokerage firm here in Nashville, when she was speaking at a women's industry event. And she said, "This is a little bit odd. I normally talk about things related to your career and how to be a good leader, but today I want to talk about the importance of taking a step back and having a reset each and every year." And I already was retreating. I could 100% agree with her on this. But she shared that she would go to Miraval once or twice a year to really reset. And she said it helped not only with her well-being, but it had really given her a lot of clarity and focus in her career and for her company. And they were able to achieve even more because she was taking that time each year. Now, as she's describing Miraval, and, we're learning that it's where Ellen DeGeneres and Oprah Winfrey and all of these other amazing people go. And she's talking about how, it's in Tucson and the resort's amazing. We're all like, how do you spell that? What's the name of that? And we're all writing it down. And so I checked it out and I was like, wow, this place is amazing. How have I never heard of it? It didn't take too long until I was actually having meetings with them and talking to them about leading a retreat there for attorneys. I had already led some retreats, but really wanted to combine the meditative, the mindfulness aspect of retreats with this concept of really getting clear on where you're going as a lawyer and dealing with issues specific to lawyers. Like, how do you pull all of that together? And I did that with Miraval for the first time in the fall, and it was amazing. I'm not aware of anything else like this available, and I really wish that it was available when I was an associate and a partner. I totally would have signed up and gone to something like this. So I'm really excited that I created it, and I cannot help but share it with anyone that will listen, because I know just how life-changing and transformational it can be. When I first developed Life and Law in Balance, it was exclusively for law firm partners, with some exceptions for senior associates and of counsel, as long as they were actively building a book of business. And that's because there was a component of the retreat that was related to getting outside of your comfort zone and really pushing your strategy, really pushing your creativity in order to build and grow that book of business. One of the things that I learned from that retreat is that there are a lot of women that would like to attend the retreat that are not working on a book of business. So this year, we're doing 2 retreats. The first retreat, the summer retreat in June, it's going to be June 11th through the 14th. That is open to any female attorney. So whether you are in-house or you're even in law school, you're a partner, an associate, whatever. It doesn't matter what your role is, and you don't have to be working on a book of business. You are invited and welcome to attend the retreat. We are going to cover deep dive workshops on meditation, mindfulness, being intentional and purposeful. We go through an inventory of many different aspects of your life and your career. We work on getting clear as to what you want next out of your personal and professional life, your limiting beliefs that might be holding you back. And then we really get excited about and get clear on a vision and a plan to accomplish it. And so we do that with small group workshops, but we also do that through some really cool experiences, including a Native American ceremony with Navajo practitioner Tony Redhouse. He is unbelievable. It's a ceremony in the Rock Kiva where we are literally releasing the things holding us back so that we can go forward towards a brighter future. It is magical. And then there are also other group activities such as a tightrope challenge where you climb 30 feet in the air on a tightrope. And I will tell you, I am scared to death of heights. I almost chickened out. I was frozen up there, but that group cheered me on and I did it. And I will say there were 3 or 4 of us that were like terrified of heights, and we all worked through it. It's amazing what you can do with the benefit and support of a group that is really tight-knit by the time you do that. So it helps you really get outside your comfort zone and face your fears. And then we have group dinners together every night. And Miraval is an all-inclusive property. It is 400 acres, and they have a ton of activities that you can participate in for free because it's all-inclusive. There are also some add-ons you can do, but it includes hiking and yoga and lessons on mindfulness and meditation and just healthy living and nutrition. So you can really get a lot out of your stay. So if you are interested in joining us this year, definitely go ahead and sign up. I am offering to my podcast listeners and my email subscribers a special that no one else is going to be aware of. And that is an extra $250 off of the early bird special, as well as a free 50-minute massage. So you can check out all the details, the agenda, testimonials, pictures from the last retreat that we did at Miraval. You can get the pricing, just all of the information that you would ever need. It's going to be at lifeandlawinbalance.com. lifeandlawinbalance.com. And we'll put that in the show notes for you. At checkout, if you want that special $250 off, as well as a free 50-minute massage, all you have to enter is FLOW, FLOW, and the discount coupon code, and you will be able to get that. And that's already in addition to the early bird pricing, which is $500 off. That ends on April 4th, and it's limited to only 10 spots. So there's both the time deadline and the spots may fill up. It sold out last time. I expect them to fill up this year as well. It is really an amazing experience. And I should add, last year I got CLE approval, and I plan on submitting it for approval this year as well. A lot of the workshops have a wellness and well-being and ethics aspect, so you can potentially get some CLE credit as well as an added bonus, but it's totally worth it even without that. And if you're thinking, well, I am a partner, I am a senior associate, I am of counsel, and I actually do want that business development piece, no worries. We are doing that track in the fall retreat. And the fall retreat is September 24th through the 27th, also at Miraval. That webpage is not up and running yet, but if you email me, I am happy to share details as to how you can grab one of those spots. And I will tell you, some of those are already taken for the fall, and they're not even officially available for sale yet. They are not on the website. We are filling the June retreat first. But if you really want that business development track, just email me heather@heatherjoyhubbard.com, and I will hook you up and give you that same special that I'm doing for June, which is $250 off the early bird price, as well as that free 50-minute massage. So whether you're joining me at a Life and Law in Balance retreat at Miraval, or you're going to another retreat, I highly encourage you to take the time to unplug, reset, get clear on where you are and where you're going, and really get excited again about your career, about your life, and about all of the possibilities in front of you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.